You might have heard of tools such as Zapier and n8n and wondered what they're for. Well, you can see here on the n8n website that it's something to do with stitching together a load of applications and getting the outcome you want automated. And so, for example, here you can see in the n8n website and the sales tab, you could stitch together when you get a review on your business. It applies some logic. There's an AI agent using ChatGPT and it sends the insight to Google Sheets. Now, that's a fairly complicated workflow, but there's a lot of things that you can do that are not as complicated and that you're going to find brilliantly useful. So let's have a look at this amazingly popular product, n8n. So we're going to go to get started for free, and we're going to go for the 14-day free trial. So we'll put Rob in, get my name right, and email address. Okay, so when you fill this in, I'm sure you can work it out. Put an account name in that means something to you, and then click Start 14-day trial, and I'll see you on the other side. So it's just going to ask a few onboarding questions. So here, what team are you on? Helping you to customize your experience. I would select things in here that sound the most or the least technical, so it's going to give you the most help. So in my case, because it's engineering, but it might well then think that I'm a software engineer, so I'm going to put product and design less than 20. So this is quite important. Which of these do you feel comfortable doing? So this is going to basically grade you on your coding experience. So I'm imagining that you're going to want to use an n8n to create workflows without too much coding. So writing JavaScript functions, definitely not. Using SQL to query a database, you're not going to want to do that. Configuring API authentication, perhaps using regex for text extraction, perhaps. But if you put setting up a webhook, that's basically a basic level. So I would suggest that one. And how did you hear about it? You heard it from YouTube. There we go. Okay, right, keeps asking me more questions. Are you using an external agency to help build your workflow? No. All right. So just skip that. And right, so my workspace is ready. You can watch this quick start on how to get on, but I'm going to give you some quick start now anyway. So start automating. And you've basically got 14 days now to play around in here. So we're going to start from scratch, and the reason is because if you start doing things that are from a template or already too complicated, then you're not going to feel comfortable making mistakes. And so I'm going to show you this from scratch, and we're going to make some mistakes and show how we can undo things. It's a little bit like when you were learning to swim. I mean, if someone throws you in the deep end, then it's sink or swim, but you may well drown and never want to get back in the pool again. So my basic philosophy for teaching anything or for learning anything is start from scratch and build up from there, whatever complexity that you're happy with at the time. So add first step, that's quite self-explanatory. We need to start with a trigger, because if you imagine a workflow, it's basically like a journey. So you're going to start your journey, let's say you're going to travel to London to buy yourself a new suit, and it's going to start with you getting in the car. So the trigger would be maybe putting the key in the ignition. So that's the analogy. And we're going to now go on a journey. So it all starts with a ignition event, if you like, which is called a trigger. So this now looks quite scary, but don't worry about it, because all we're going to do is we're going to select this and we're going to decide what our trigger is going to be. And the trigger that it's added is when you click execute workflow. Whereas actually the trigger that we want is something different. So I'm going to get rid of that because we don't want to manually start the workflow. So if you want to delete one of these, click on the little bin icon there. So instead, I'm going to add first step, and instead of trigger manually, all of these are actually triggers. So I made the mistake of thinking, oh, that's the trigger event there, but actually what it's saying is what triggers this workflow, and it's listing all of these ways to trigger it. So what I actually want is if somebody submits a form, and I want the workflow to trigger once the form is submitted. And what we're going to do in this particular workflow is someone on the website is going to submit an inquiry form, and it will then appear in a spreadsheet for me. So let's click on form submission, and now it's allowing you to decide what your form's going to be. So this is going to be inquiry form description. If you just hover over the question mark there, it will show you what to put in there. So shown underneath the form title can be used to prompt the user on how to complete the form. So this isn't a description for you, this is a description for the person on your website. So please fill in your inquiry details, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. What a boring message. We will. Let's click on this here, and I'm going to ask ChatGPT make this more interesting, and enter. So this is a ChatGPT plugin in the Firefox browser that I'm using. So you may or may not have this if you're on Firefox. Or, sorry, I'm on Chrome. Am I? No, I'm in Firefox. So I'll circle back with you. That is just so American, isn't it? Nothing wrong with being American, but I'm English, so we need to be a little bit. We don't circle back in England. We get back to people. This seems, yeah, quite like expect to hear from me soon. I assume that if you're filling in a form to contact me, then you're going to want to hear from me soon. There we are. I mean, these things matter. It's nothing to do with n8n, but I just want to show you the full workflow. Please fill in your inquiry details below. Expect to hear from me soon. I don't know if that's very good grammar. So we don't. All we have now is a title and a description. We need to add a form element. So what we're going to want to do is set up the things that we want to collect. So the field name, again, if we hover over there, this is the label, but it's also going to be the name that you can use to refer to it later. So you want that to be descriptive but relatively short, in my opinion. So what we're going to say is name and element type text, and placeholder, this is the text that displays as a sample. So you can leave that blank, but it's going to be helpful for people for some text to appear in this field. So I'm going to say Gerald here because it's quite unlikely that anyone is going to be called Gerald I did used to have a friend called Gerald, and Gerald, if you're listening to this or watching it, do get in touch. I haven't seen him for about 30 years, which is a shame. So required field, yes, we're going to want people to fill this in. Now don't worry, it won't always be Gerald. That's just an example for them to help them along. So this next one, we're going to want them to give us their email address and element type. We can do text, but we can do email. Email is going to be a little bit, basically it will hold them to an email format, right, so that they can't submit it wrong. Now a lot of people get emails wrong, so it's probably best to select this one because it's going to just catch those one or two people that are going to get their email in the wrong format, of which a surprising number do exist. So placeholder, I'm going to say Gerald at getintouch.com. There we go, another subtle message to Gerald to get in touch with me, because I haven't heard from him for 30 years. So this also is a required field, and then fourthly, what we want is, we've got the name, we've got the email address, we want message. So we're going to keep it simple. Obviously you can keep on adding fields here, and we want this to be text, and I'm just going to kind of go ... put your message here, and that's also required. So that's the form set up. There's going to be these three fields. I was tricking you when I said fourthly. 3 fields, and you'll see them in a minute. But what we're going to do now is respond when form is submitted. So as soon as this node receives the form submission, then the response is going to be submitted with a message, I assume. Let's have a look. Build multi-step forms providing a form page later. Add option. Form response. Respond with. So very, very useful. You can give them a redirect URL, so it can take them to a thank you page or something like that. But instead we're just going to show them some text to show your response has been recorded. That's just awful, isn't it? I mean, this is humans we're talking to. So I'm going to thank them first of all. Thank you. I don't need to say first of all. Thank you for submitting your enquiry. You can expect. I wonder if I can still paste this. Is this still in the... There we go. Expect to hear from me soon. That's where we wanted to put it, wasn't it? Please fill in your inquiry details below. It's still way better than we'll get back to you. So I've repeated myself, but you know, I think that's just a lot more friendly. So this is done. And here it says execute this node to view data or set mock data. So what we're going to do is just click execute step here. Right, so here's the form. Looks absolutely great. I love the orange, a nod to my Dutch surname. And you can see here in grey, there's Gerald and the email address, Gerald at Get In Touch. It just kind of shows people the kind of, you know, basically we need your first name here. We need your properly formatted email address, and put your message here. So I'm going to really confuse you by putting Gary, and I never know whether Gary is double R or single R, because it ought to be Gary, surely, if it's single R. So Gary at Mozilla.com, which is a nod to the browser I'm using. And message, hi, please could you, this is the message obviously that your visitor on your website is going to be putting in. Now it's important to understand that this is not any coding we're doing here. We're just filling in some test details, some sample details in our form. So this is the kind of message you're going to be expecting. Keep the name to the kind of name format you're going to be expecting, and the email address and the message, because you're going to be using this sample data in a bit to build the rest of the workflow. So someone on my website might say, hi, please could you get back to me, oh, there it is again, with a quote for n8n automation services, because I hear you are the bee's knees. All right, so submit. Problem submitting response. Well, I was not expecting that. Something timed out, didn't it? I saw that it disappeared. Something disappeared and timed out. So we will try again. Execute step. Gary, email address, gary@mozilla.com. Hi, get back to me quickly, please, with details of the swage terminal coupling. Right, form submitted. Right, something must have timed out earlier. It just took too long to do it, which is typical. So, form submitted. Thank you for submitting your inquiry. Expect to hear from me soon. That is my message that I typed in down here. Okay, so it's all working. So what's happened now is the form has been filled in. I have filled the form in, but your website visitor would do it ordinarily. And what's happened is that it's now stored this in a spreadsheet style format. Name, email address, message, submitted. That's a time string that I know it looks like gobbledygook, but that's basically a common way of storing the time, and then a test. So we need to click this pin here. It says you can pin this output instead of waiting for a test event. So we want to pin this because what we want to do is we want to use this for the rest of our testing and the rest of our workflow. So I've pinned it. This data is pinned. There we go. And we're going to click back to Canvas, which is quite a hard little message to find, but that's the one we want. Back to Canvas. So all we've done so far, I know it's taken a while, but I'm just trying to show it you in real time, is all we've done is we've set this form up. Right, that's all that exists at the moment, and that's called a trigger, because it's going to wait for that form. That form's going to wait on your website forever and ever, and then when someone happens upon your website and wants to get in touch with you, they will fill that in, and that will then put the key in the ignition, as it were, and start this journey, start this workflow off. So when that form is submitted, we want something else to happen, don't we? Because when the form's submitted, we want that data to go to a spreadsheet. So we're going to click the plus. Here we have the prompt, what happens next? So we could do some AI stuff, which we will do soon. It's going to be great in the next videos. We're going to do loads of AI stuff, all being well. It's just going to make your life easier in every way, basically. That's what AI means, artificial intelligence, but it basically means that it's going to do stuff so that you don't have to, and you don't have to think about it. So do something in an app or service like Google Sheets. Well, exactly what we want to do is Google Sheets. So look at all this list of products and services that you can interface with, or in common parlance, you can use automatically. That's all it means. You use it automatically. So there's that much of it there. I'm just going to go for the easy one that you will have come across, which is Google Sheets, which is if you're used to Excel, it's basically the same as that, but it's done by Google and it's online. So click Google Sheets, and we're going to append or update row in sheet. So this is basically a list of stuff that we can now do with the Google spreadsheet, and what we want to do is append. That means add or update a row in sheet. So click that one, and now you come back again to a bunch of things to fill in. Here's our test data. So this is what it got on that step. And now what you're going to need to do is connect your Google, if you've got Gmail or something like that, your Google account with this. So create new credential, OAuth 2, or sign in with Google. I'm going to go sign in with Google. And what you want to do now is select all, because you want it to view and manage files in the Google Drive. You want it to see, edit and create and do all this stuff. So if you select all, it's going to give it access to your Google Sheets and Google Drive. Connection successful. So the window's going to close, the account's been connected, and we can now get rid of this. We can click the cross up here because we should be connected here like that. So resource, what we're going to do is, so we're going to go with sheet within document, and what it's going to do is it's going to append a row, which is to create a new row in a sheet. So we need to select the document first, and so this is going to look within your Google Drive. So in Google Sheets, if you first of all create a spreadsheet and then title it here, so I'm going to go website form capture, and that will have saved now. So if I now go into choose, then it should come in here at some point. Let's go web site form capture. So that's the spreadsheet that you just created. The reason I just went into Google Drive and created that spreadsheet was because I want to show you the append rather than create spreadsheet, because if this is going to stay on your website running all the time, you don't want it to create a spreadsheet each time. And there are ways around all of that, but that's just getting a bit complicated for this simple tutorial. So website form capture, and the sheet is sheet 1, and no columns found. So what we're going to do is map automatically. So in this mode, make sure the incoming data fields are named the same as the columns in Google Sheets. So what we want is name, email address, and message. Yeah, so let's go and set these up. So name, email, message, and then I'm just going to go date, and then we're going to map those. So map each column manually. It's fetching the columns. These are the ones I just typed in. Isn't that good? So drag an input field from the left to use it here. So in name, I'm going to want that, and in email, I'm going to want that. Oops. Like so. You can see it's coming in correctly. And in message, I'm going to want that one. And for the date, I'm going to want that one. Brilliant. And it's also colourful, isn't it, as well? So we have got that. So we're going to, this is all saved and set up. So what we're going to do is execute this to see if it works. So it says node executed successfully, but we're going to be the judge of that because we're going to go to our spreadsheet and guess what's going to be in there. Look at that. Now that is very exciting because imagine just with that little thing I've shown you how many automations and little applications and little time saving measures you can think of just by setting up a form and linking it with a spreadsheet. So that is basically what n8n does. So if we go back to Canvas, we can now set this running, and we can input that into the form into our website, and we can start collecting inquiries. So on form submission, the Google Sheet is going to be filled in, and that's going to be that. So we'll save it. If we want to grab that form and put it on a website, then we will be able to do that in and I'll show that in the next video. So quite impressed with n8n. It's working as expected, and what's so nice about it is that it really is quite user friendly, and it's doing things that I'm expecting it to do. So in the next video we're going to make this actually work on a website, and I will see you there.